Welcome, welcome, welcome. You listen to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM with the Ask Brien Radio Show. Live every week, live every Thursday. You listen to it. It's 1 to 2 p.m. In case you don't remember the time, we are live. Boy, I got a chuckle or something. So, every week we have a show and we try to help people in business try to learn something about business. And Traci, everyone is always asking why Brien is spelled with an E, and I heard you have some of the answers to some of those questions, and so without any further ado, some of the people would like to know why in the world Brien is spelled with an E, not spelled Y-A-N or I-A-N. We don't understand. You've been the co-host for a while now, so you should probably have a good idea. Although I did hear that we came up with a new one today, so we'll let you go through some of those, and then we'll come in with one or two more that we're adding. So why do you spell Brien with an E?
The suspense is killing me on the new E, but
if we had a drum roll, I would do it now. But Emily won't find a drum roll for me.
I mean, it's got to be budget cuts because we ask for one every week. So I guess what it's got to be what it's got to be. But Emily, our engineer, are our two primary E's because without Emily, our engineer, there would be no Ask Brien with or without an E. How about that for a riddle?
Well, but then answer this question, Miss Riddler. Okay, the show has started over 5 years ago. All right, and Emily wasn't working here over 5 years ago, so please explain that one.
Well, Emily is our current reason why it couldn't exist without her, but we've also had our wonderful Pat, who has, because he got promoted because of his excellence in his engineering, he is now an executive, and so therefore he is no longer our engineer.
And is that because executive is with an E? Is that why you're saying that? Or what's? And by the way, Patrick is like number 5 on the list.
Okay, well, Patrick is the most excellent engineer before Emily. So therefore, his expertise has never been in question.
I will call.
Very difficult on me.
I'm going to call Andrew in, the prior engineer, because I don't think he's going to agree with you. Go ahead.
Well, I was never engaged with Andrew on the show, so I don't know.
And
I don't know if he was engaging or not. But all of our guests who are experts are always engaging with their entrepreneurial experiences.
You're getting a lot of E's there, but I didn't realize engage was part of it. But okay, I guess you're adding a new one. So I guess there'll be more than one addition to the E's, but go ahead.
Well, our listeners are always engaged with our exciting and enticing educational content. So therefore, engaged is a new one. But I think you actually have an even more new one.
Well, but first of all, you forgot about a couple of them, okay? You forgot about enthusiasm!
Which was on purpose because of that.
Okay. And I didn't hear the word experience.
I said experience like 5 times.
And what about educational?
I said educational content. You keep going, buddy.
All right. Well, here's the new one, I'm going to give you the hints, and I think you can get the answer, but we're going to give it a shot. So let's have a drum. Let's have a drum roll, Emily. Emily, do you have a drum roll?
Cold.
We don't have a drum roll.
Well, Patrick used to have one.
Cold with.
All right. So let's do the drum roll for the new one.
That sounds really phenomenal.
Well, just wait till I tell Jerry that we need to get a drum set for here. Anyway, I'm going to give you...
Oh, by the way, audience, there's no dress rehearsal here. I am literally hearing this for the very first time. I'm offering that disclaimer up front.
Are you saying I fly by the seat of my pants? Anyway, so I'm going to give you a hint. And if I give you these 2 hints, I do believe you can come up with the answer. So, the first hint.
Okay, let's see.
The first hint is the movie Grease.
Okay.
Okay. The second one, which I think should give it away, because I think you and I have about the same age classification, and so I'm going to say something about it. And once I say this, I think you're going to get it. But do you remember the car that they had?
Oh, dang. Well, how about electrifying?
That's it! Electrifying! Woo! You got it.
Yeah!
See?
It's electrifying.
That's exactly what the show is. It's electrifying! Everybody's electrified. Even Emily, her hair is standing up.
Emily's probably running out of the room.
She wishes she could. But she needs the $9 an hour that they pay her. So, anyway.
Oh, stop. Don't disclose things like that.
I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to tell what her salary is. Anyway, so we have a very, very good guest today. And, by the way, interestingly, so our guest, she is the CEO of a company called YouROK. And so now I'm going to ask her a question. My first question, because we have Brien with an E. Why is rock without a C?
It's a play on the expression, you are okay.
All right. That's actually what I said to you yesterday.
I love that. That is great. That is exceptional branding.
Well, thank you for that. I come from a product marketing and strategic marketing background, and I've named a few products in my career, but we really wanted to emphasize the positivity side of things for kids since they're criticized and held accountable and punished all too much. We wanted to be the positive place for them to go in the virtual world.
So what our listeners don't know what YouROK is, but before we get there, we want to go a little bit about your prior background. So YouROK was created what year? You are okay? Hello?
Sorry, I think you cut out a little bit. Can you repeat the question?
You Are Okay started what year?
Oh, what year did YouROK start?
I thought it was You Are Okay.
I started dreaming about it in 2016. And then from there, we went to product concept test and then coding and then launching and so on.
So, but before we get there, what were you doing prior to 2016?
Well, my entire career has been spent helping companies bring new products to market, both inside of corporations and as a management consultant with my own consulting practice called Vision and Execution.
And would there be any products that some of the people in the audience might know?
Well, I've worked with a lot of name brand Fortune 500 companies on projects within their realm. So, that would probably be less interesting. A lot of the companies that I've worked with over the years have, at this point, been acquired, so you might not recognize them. But probably my biggest claim to fame was working with the first ad-serving software solution created by NetGravity, which got acquired by DoubleClick, which got sold to a private equity firm, which then was acquired by Google.
Wow, I know DoubleClick because I actually represented a client. We sued them and won. Question for you: how did You Are Okay come about? How did you? What made you create it?
There's actually two reasons for it, and we might have my sidekick here contributing to the call as he goes barking in the background. I had actually gone through a divorce, and I was, when we have a major life event like that, you think about changing more than one thing. And so I thought about doing something different. And someone said, well, if money were no object, what would you do? And I'm sorry, that's King in the background. I said, I'd do my own startup, but I don't have an idea. And literally an hour later, the idea just totally floated into my head. And I started building upon it, researching it, evaluating if there was a market there and so on. But it was really all born out of the fact that my son was diagnosed with a learning difference and a mental health issue at a very young age. And our lived experience with his journey to recovering and dealing with all those kinds of things taught me a lot about what does and does not work well in the mental health care field.
And so, what was your goal then? Was it to help people that have some concerns and problems? What was your real reason?
Well, my goal is actually very lofty. My goal is to raise the next generation of totally healthy adults, because the practical reality is most of the challenges kids have are because of family of origin issues their parents had because their parents had issues and whose parents had issues. And what happens when kids are teenagers is they start to do end runs around their parents, especially when there's dysfunction in the home, and start looking for their own answers because they know this doesn't feel right to them, and they are trying to create their own solution. So our goal is to teach kids really how to build their emotional resiliency skills. Research has documented that emotional resiliency is the foundation to mental health. And by having really strong skills in that arena and the ability to process really big emotions when bad things happen allows you to go through the challenges that life will throw at you and come out ahead.
So how does YouROK work?
Well, there's two components to it. We've created a smartphone app by and for our target market of adolescents and tweens. And it basically gamifies evidence-informed research about how to improve your emotional resiliency. We've got a platformer game in there that's kind of the hook pulls kids in, but there's a knowledge base of information that they can look up that's curated and more tailored to a tween or teen in terms of what they should be reading about issues in their life or what they want to know about issues in their life. There's a feature that allows them to practice self-advocacy, another feature to practice gratitude, and another feature to reframe negative emotions and take a more positive view of what they're dealing with in their life. And all of those come together to help improve a child's mood. And we've found from our pilot of 2,800 users that kids actually do get better using the app based on our analysis of their change in scores. And then we've heard anecdotally from the kids how much better they feel from using the app.
So how do you determine that somebody has gotten a benefit out of it? Is it just polling, or is there another way that you can measure?
No, we have algorithms that analyze everything the kids share within the app. What they share within the app is always private, and it's not shared with anyone else. But our algorithms are able to do sentiment analysis and assess how positive or negative they're actually feeling based on what they're sharing. And that score that's produced, we call it the MIOK score within the app, serves as an emotional thermometer to help kids know if they're doing okay. And if they're not, within the app, we encourage them to reach out to resources to get more help. And for customers who are using our enterprise dashboard, which is a SaaS-based solution, they have the dashboard to basically do population health management and determine how well a school or a pediatric practice or a therapeutic practice, how the patients are doing from afar, and also risk stratify who needs the highest level of care to prioritize the limited available resources for therapeutic care, as we're going through an extreme shortage across all age groups, but it's especially bad for adolescents, with the shortage expected to last to 2050.
So, a couple of things. My first question, and I had this when I first met with you, is awareness, right? So, if you don't know you have a problem, then you can't even attempt to try to solve that problem. So, how does awareness come in? How does somebody realize that they need to contact or work with YouROK? What is a trigger for that?
Well, I would suggest that there's not a lack of awareness. We already know that kids are doing a lot using Dr. Google, and so they know when they don't feel good, and so in some cases they're embarrassed and they you don't want to upset their parents. In other cases, their parents, they don't want to upset their parents because they, have a short fuse or something like that, or just wouldn't be supportive. So the kids already know that they don't feel good, and they're trying to find solutions. And even the folks who could potentially meet the diagnosis for anxiety or depression are still quite aspirational and wanting to feel better and be their best self. And that's basically the messaging we put out about the app that makes it so attractive to the end users, the youth who are using the mobile app.
And do you need the parents' involvement for this?
Well, like most apps or social media sites, kids are getting on these things whether they have parent permission or not. When we work with our enterprise customers, they have the ability to secure parental approval first. And that's what is happening with our client in Florida. That's the 8th largest school district. They've solicited approval forms from the parents, so the kids can not only use the app, but share their email address with us so we can invite them into the program and download the app.
So let's go through how this works. Somebody decides to download the app, and then what would they do? They'd fill in their information and then maybe ask a question, or how would this work?
Well, you're describing more of what a direct-to-consumer experience would look like. Here's what's different about YouROK from a lot of other solutions that are out there, many of which are primarily focused on the adult market but trying to move into the adolescent market, is they've simply digitized a manual process. There are industry standard assessment tools to determine the general anxiety disorder.
You might want to adjust your phone. There's an issue coming. Emily? Traci, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I think we lost her.
Yeah, I think so too. So, Patrina, you there?
As we take this break.
Well, I guess we are going to take a break.
I know what I did. My ear pushed the mute button. So sorry. Where did I leave off?
That's the beauty of live radio.
We're going to take a hold on. We're going to take a break. We'll come right back. KHTS 1220 98.1 FM.
If you need help at home or at the office, call Made For You. Made For You is a locally owned, bonded, and licensed cleaning service with over 20 years of experience. All employees are vetted for your protection. No need to buy products or equipment. The Made For You staff comes complete with everything needed to make your home or office cleaner than ever. Hire Made For You one time, as needed, or an ongoing basis. No room is off limits. Laundry and ironing services are also available. Call Made For You for a free estimate. 255-2922. That's 255-2922. If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
19. 20.
Hey, Ned, why you doing push-ups? The truck says Pacific Air, not Ned's Health Club.
Are you kidding? I'm doing push-ups to keep my body in shape, just like our Elite Club membership helps people save money and keep their heating and air systems in great shape all year.
That's great, Ned, but put your shirt back on. The neighbors are starting to look. Get in the truck, Ned. Mark and Kaylee for Pacific Air.
Just like going to the gym can keep your body running strong,
regular heating and AC maintenance can keep your system running strong.
Pacific Air's Elite Club membership will save you money on all your tune-ups and maintenance. You'll also get priority service.
Plus, Elite Club members receive a whopping 30% off all system repairs and a lifetime warranty.
No surprises, just exceptional service, because nobody cares like Pacific Air. We think you'll say,
wow!
When you want the best, call Pacific Air.
Learn more about Pacific Air's Elite Club membership at pacair.com.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM with my co-host Traci, and we have a very good guest today from YouROK, Patrina. Patrina, before we had some technical difficulties, we had a question on, and we want to make sure we get an answer to that. So the question was, you have this app, okay, and how does it work, and how does somebody engage with the app, and how does it work?
Well, there's two ways to engage with the app. The one is because your school or your pediatrician or your therapist has contracted with us to offer it to the population that they serve. And they would be invited to use the app as a result of that arrangement. It's available in both the Apple and Google Play stores. So an individual can actually download the app, and it's free to them because that we wanted to do good while making money. And we make our money by providing our enterprise dashboard to the enterprise customers to monitor their population. But basically, once someone decides to download the app, they create their account, and they're able to use all the features within the app.
And what are some of the popular features that people are using?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What are some of the popular features that people use on your app?
I'm really sorry. You're trailing off at the latter part of the sentence.
What popular features are used? What are the most popular features on your app that people are using?
Well, there's about 6 features within the app, all of which are evidence-informed activities designed to make kids feel better. But the lead feature that is kind of the hook to download it is the platformer game. It allows you to name your emotions and get in touch with how you're really feeling about 4 categories in your life: school, family life, social life, and other stuff. And then you get to collect acorns by, achieving all the levels and overcoming enemies and so on. But also within the app, there's a knowledge base that helps kids find the information they're looking for about teenage issues. There's a feature that helps them practice self-advocacy in a playful way so that they can practice asserting themselves in an emotionally healthy way. There's a gratitude practice, and then there's a feature that allows you to reframe your negative thoughts into a more positive, uplifting way of looking at your challenges. And most of all, with those latter features, you're able to then go into an anonymous peer support program where you can interact with kids your age, but it's so secure and anonymous that there's no, it's a randomly generated username, and there's no photos or avatars, so kids feel really safe sharing things that they would not share to anyone else because they're really trying to sort it out and see where they feel themselves, and they get support for what they're going through.
And last question, then I'm going to have Traci ask some questions, and that is, how is this monetized? I mean, obviously someone's got to pay for this program, so how does that work?
Absolutely. We make our money off of our enterprise dashboard. That's available to schools, youth organizations, juvenile detention, healthcare providers, and insurance providers to track how the population that they're serving is doing. But most of all, it allows them to risk stratify that population. As I mentioned earlier, there's such a shortage of therapeutic care that it's hard to go around, hard to find as many resources that are actually needed. So we give folks insight into kids who might be really adept at flying beneath the radar but are really struggling. And these are often the kids that end up in the ER from a suicide attempt. And so that's what people are paying for. And it's volume-based pricing based on total community served.
So it's basically the enterprise that are paying, no one else is paying. Is that correct?
Correct.
And give an example of an enterprise. Is that like the school district you just mentioned?
Sorry, Peter. I'm really struggling to hear you. You got softer when we came back from commercial.
I am like right in front of the microphone. Emily, can you?
I know. I'm sorry.
Make it louder. Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that was the volume control was low. So an example, the enterprises, what, like the school districts, etc. Are there any other defined enterprises that you're seeking?
Yes, schools, youth organizations, juvenile detention centers, pediatricians, therapists, insurance providers. Those are all among our target customer groups.
All right. Well, without any further ado, ADIEU, that's Traci's favorite word.
Because
that's Traci's
you
favorite
love
word.
all the consonants. Because it only has one vowel. I can't say it as sad as Patty does, though. So, further ado, because I'm more excited about the next chapter of questions. So, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey story. In that, I know you have a background in product to market and product marketing. How has that influenced the branding and the messaging and everything that you've been doing in terms of building this business out?
It's really kind of funny how your early life experiences can ultimately end up shaping your career. I've always been a keen observer of people and human nature, and that made me really good at marketing research, strategic marketing, but also as my career developed and the product management category or function as a job category emerged during the early part of my career, I was just exceptionally good at reading the tea leaves and seeing which way things were going, hearing things that other people might have missed about what was really important to them, and then always taking the point of view that for a company to be successful, you have to give the customer exactly what they want and what they need. And there's always a way to do that profitably. And that's kind of how I built my professional career before I became an entrepreneur myself and the CEO of my own startup.
And even to we were talking off the mic before about the name. So I'd love it if you would just share the metaphor and the synergy of YouROK and what that also represents in another way.
Sure thing. So much of everything we've learned about parenting is about logic and consequences, which is a very punitive way of parenting. And given my own experience parenting my child with his issues, I had to relearn a more connected and emotionally supportive way of parenting. So I really wanted to focus on everything that's positive and the strengths of kids and help them feel especially as they're hitting puberty and pulling away from parents and trying to figure out who they are as an individual. It's so much easier to do that when you're feeling supported, emotionally supported, and getting positive reinforcement versus criticism and negativity. And so because of that emotional goal on my part, we ended up coming up with the name YouROK, as in you're great, you're doing fine. But it's also a play on the words you are okay. And we really want kids to feel like they are okay. And if there is a challenge, that we're there to help them to get better.
I think the anonymous factor of the community support is so wonderful in how that's executed on the app. I have a curiosity around, has it ever been considered that you would have both an online and an in-person component to this? I mean, I could see the positives and negatives of both, but I'm just curious if there's any ideas around having an in-person component simply because of having that ability to really connect, the human connection aspect of it.
I would say that for the generation that we're targeting and the ones that will come behind them, they don't have that same need for in-person connection. They're somehow able to manage forging those relationships online. And that's not to say that I'll give you an example. My son's in college, and he's about to fly to Florida for spring break to stay with the friend he made online, who ultimately was part of the Parkland shooting massacre. And and when he came out to California to get away from Florida after that happened, they finally got to meet in person. And they've maintained this friendship mostly online for probably 5 years now. So I would say the in-person is something that older folks or parents think about, but the kids aren't thinking that way.
That's so fascinating to me. And obviously I'm probably showing my age, but I agree with you. I mean, that generation has grown up with the phone being an appendage to their limbs, literally, so they don't really know another way. And I just also am curious, like from the mental health perspective, is that just a new way of living? And how does mental health address the virtual relationships versus the in-person relationships?
What I see happening with what kids share in the app is that they're working out their in-person relationships through a digital format that's safe and anonymous. So if they're not getting along with their best friend or their parents, those are the kinds of issues that they're sharing within the app, and they're getting support from others using the app as well. We have buttons that vote for good idea or bad idea when they're trying to figure out how to solve a problem. We have helpful and hurtful if they're trying to self-advocate and they may not be saying something all that kind, but very emotionally charged for them. So we're reinforcing some very pro-social behaviors and how we've designed the app. And that's what allows them then to go back into the real life and have better relationships and do better.
From an entrepreneurial perspective, I'd love to know, I know you shared the idea behind YouROK, but I'm also curious because you've worked in startups, but you've never actually been the founder of a startup. So two questions I have is, one, so your aha moment was, if you could do anything, it would be to start something. But at that moment, you really didn't know that this is what you were going to start, correct? So how did that go from, if I could start anything, to I want to start YouROK?
Well, first, let me just say that I've had entrepreneurial attempts throughout my life, from creating opportunities to work as a high school student to almost after every job, I tried to do some sort of consulting or more consulting-oriented projects. And my firm, Vision and Execution, I founded 20 years ago and have led that company during that time. So I wasn't completely devoid of entrepreneurial experiences, but being the CEO of a startup, pre-funding and pre-revenue, of course, which every startup is when they get started, is very, very challenging. And there are many people who have had great passion for our what we're trying to achieve. Not everybody has the financial resources to dedicate themselves to a startup to get it to early revenues and early funding. So that is more than anything, the challenge is finding people who have the skill set and the compassion and the financial resources to play an impactful role to the company.
And in doing that, so were you primarily self-funding, or did you start out with the concept and then start researching funding opportunities right away?
Well, as a C Corp, or one that was intending to be for-profit all along, there's very little funding opportunities for you if you're not a serial entrepreneur, as in healthy exits. So everybody is bootstrapping and self-funding. We've actually been able to close our first customers, so we are starting to generate revenue, and we're part of a fantastic accelerator called Expert Dojo that puts money into their cohorts so that they can get a little breathing room and scale more efficiently. So that is one of the big challenges. And then there's also women still depending on which report you read, make up only 2 to 6% of total investment dollars. So that adds to another challenge in securing funding. And one of the reasons I like Expert Dojo is they're very pro women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, they're an amazing group. So you were actually reading my mind in terms of having a few questions centered on women entrepreneurship. And my curiosity would be, as a female entrepreneur, what have been some of the challenges that you face? And then specifically, have you faced challenges being female entrepreneur in the tech space?
Oh, without a doubt. And sometimes
I was assuming yes, but I didn't. I was assuming yes, but I did not want to imply.
And here's the worst part of it, at least based on my own personal experience. I will not categorically describe the situation this way, but I have observed that the women who are trying to make it better for other women are held to higher standards for funding their funds. And as a result, they have to be even more careful and de-risk even more extremely than men do. So the big challenge, and it's well documented in the Harvard paper that talks about the fact that men are interviewed for success and women are interviewed for failure.
Wow. That's a very powerful statement, and I just need to just leave it there for a second. So in your, in the tech space specifically, have you run into challenges that are related to being the founder of a tech company? Do you consider your company a tech company? I'm assuming yes, but I probably should clarify that first.
You like to assume a lot.
We're definitely a tech company, and that's an interesting state of affairs in digital health of any kind, is you have people coming from healthcare and academia versus people coming from tech, and how those silos eventually have to merge and have a more common ground. And there's some challenges around that. I don't have any challenges when I'm out in front of customers talking, or things like, I don't have challenges in terms of hiring people. The real challenge is the challenge in getting funded. Companies who are doing something similar to mine but for adults or, other type solutions, if they have a male CEO, they're just further ahead in terms of funding.
Well, so regarding that funding issue, who are your competitors?
There's a number of companies that are going after the youth market, in part because we know how badly youth are suffering, as the U.S. General pointed out in his recent paper. But the other thing that's interesting about the funding market is investors fund what they know, and right now digital health is a super hot category, so many of them are getting, really happy with marketplace solutions that they really understand, because you can have a marketplace for any industry category. But the fact that they don't understand the extreme shortages in providers, and that's not ultimately a scalable model, because everyone is now competing for the same limited number of therapists available. But these companies that have the marketplace solutions, because they're easy to understand, have pulled ahead in terms of funding. So I may have lost sight of the question. If you can point me back.
We are. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM, the Ask Brien Show.
When you're looking for a midnight snack, sometimes fast food just doesn't cut it. California Bakery and Cafe is open 24/7, so you'll be able to find fresh donuts, danishes, bagels, all-natural fruit juices, gourmet sandwiches, and much more at any hour. With elaborate cakes for any occasion, including weddings, baptisms, anniversaries, corporate events, or any special event. California Bakery and Cafe in Santa Clarita is open 24 hours to satisfy any craving anytime. Call us, 255-1254. That's 255-1254.
If you have a business problem, If someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years' experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
With locations throughout the Valley, Providence offers the most advanced technology and therapies for treating cancer in Southern California. Call 1-888-HEALING for your annual checkup or second opinion. The road to healing leads to Providence.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM with the Ask Brien Show. Before we took a break, we had a question on the table, and that was to Patrina, and the question was, who are your competitors? Now, you don't have to specifically name names, but if you know if there's some big company out there, some really, really big competitor, you could do that. So if you know that, that's fine. If not, I have a follow-up question.
Well, I guess the best way to explain it is that the strictly app-only digital mental health solutions out there like Headspace and Calm and MindStrong are all going after this market. Insight that I have gleaned from talking to folks is they're not doing that well because it was designed for adults and not for kids. So they're struggling with how to evolve their product. Companies who are specifically designed for and targeting youth as we are companies like Hazel, Neolith, June, and Manatee. But as I mentioned previously, they're almost exclusively focused on the marketplace, which means what they're trying to do is match a patient to a provider when there's not enough providers to go around.
And how does somebody sign up for the service? You just go download YouROK, the app, or is there another way?
Well, our marketing focus currently is on our enterprise customers, and anyone can go to our website, which is YouROK Apps, YouROKAPPS.com, and there's a form that you can complete that will generate a notification for us to reach out to you and set up an appointment. But if you're an individual user, such as a teenager, and you want to try out KBRO, the app, you can go to Android or Google Play Store and just download it for free.
Traci?
Well, I just want to know what's next for you. What's next for YouROK?
Well, our expectation is we'll close our first major round of funding this year, as well as close a bunch more customers and get things up and running. And then we have lots of ideas for how to expand the product capability so that we can deliver more digital care and make it available to youth in underserved populations in rural areas where the access to care is very limited. Only 50% of counties even have psychiatric care available within their county.
Is your focus going to be limited to adolescents, or are you going to, at some point, look into either the adult market or the adolescent
We're
market?
absolutely looking at the college-age market because that's really where the rubber hits the road. There's no parental support now, and that's where kids really tend to implode. We've talked to a number of universities and gotten feedback that while we probably need a different name and maybe a different logo and home screen, the features as they stand would appeal to the college-age population, so we're moving in that direction.
And what about Stigmas? Because, some people still do have that area where they, if they find out that you're on YouROK or they know what it's about, a kid could, finds out about that, they could, stigmatize somebody for that. So how do you get around that?
I think that's a worry if you're getting prescribed a digital pill, which is what they're calling these mental health apps, and some of which are getting FDA approval. But we're the exact opposite of that. When, for example, in the Tampa Bay School District that we'll be going into, it's available for every single student. We're not pulling a kid aside and saying, we're worried about you, so you must use KBRO to feel better. We're saying, here's a fun app that will build your emotional resiliency and help you not only have fun, but feel better about yourself. Who doesn't want to be their best self? That's always been our positioning for the app, KBRO, and it works really well. Even if they're really not doing well, they're still aspirational about feeling better.
Is your main marketing channel through the schools, or do you do marketing through social media to go direct to the adolescent?
Well, we definitely have very active social media marketing on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We have Instagram and a Facebook page are geared to kids, and then we have a separate Facebook page geared to adults. And then Twitter and LinkedIn obviously would be more business focused. It's where we connect with therapists who are concerned about kids as well. But we also have a very active direct sales program going on, reaching out to our target customer groups to gain their interest in what we're doing. And we've also there's fortunately, because of the growth of the category, there's been a lot of health conferences and virtual health conferences, digital mental health conferences, where we've been able to talk to people who are actively seeking solutions like ours, and that's where most of our leads have come from.
Well, we have
and where do you think you'll take... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
We have about 15 seconds left, so if you want to ask a question, answer quickly.
No, well, the best way to reach you personally, if anyone wants to ask you a direct question...
Sure thing. It's Patrina, Patrina, at YouROKapps.com.
Well, thank you very much. You've been a very good guest. Traci, Patrina, appreciate it. We'll have you back on later as you grow. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM.